So please take this with a grain of salt. I'm gonna be dramatic and I'm gonna be silly. Hey y'all, my name is Catherine. If you have not been here before, welcome. If you have, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about a Christian movie. Now you may be asking, Catherine, why are we talking about a Christian movie? Well, a question I have always had is why are most Christian movies so bad? I dream of a better day when we can have amazing Christian movies, but until that day we are gonna sit here, we're gonna laugh at those movies that suck. And one of those movies is the movie Christian Mingle, and that's what we're watching today. I hope to make this a series on my channel. It's gonna be called CCC, which stands for Cringy Christian Cinema. If you have not seen the movie Christian Mingle before, don't worry about that at all. I'm going to give you a quick recap. So this movie is starring our dear Lacey Chabert. We have seen her in like 50 Hallmark movies, but mostly we know her as Gretchen Wieners from Mean Girls.
Gretchen Wieners knows everybody's business. She knows everything about everyone.
That's why her hair is so big. It's full of secrets.
Her name in this movie, y'all, is Gwyneth.
It's so fetch.
And so if I accidentally call her Gretchen during this video, don't at me. Alright, so let's get to the main story beats of this movie. So when we pick up with Gwyneth, see, it's already starting. When we pick up with Gwyneth at the beginning of this movie, she's on a bad date with a bad secular boy. Then she's with her friends, well, I'm gonna be single forever. And so she gets to work in the new year, and we get to meet one of the only good parts of this movie, our girl Pam. Oh, and what's his face, that guy, you know, he's from Freaky Friday. So they work at an advertising firm, but I'm not really sure why any of this is in here because it doesn't contribute to the plot whatsoever. And then we get to meet Guy Fieri. And so now Gwyneth is still sad about being single, I guess. So she goes home. And the next logical move is for her homegirl to set up an online dating profile. But not on any online dating site. On a Christian site. For Christians. When she's not a Christian. Her only criteria for a romantic relationship, according to herself, is to find a good guy who treats her well. Why does she, a non-Christian, think that the only place she could find a good guy online is from a Christian dating site? Why didn't she try some other dating site like eHarmony or Match.com? The fact that she is starting with Christian Mingle doesn't make any sense. And since this is the main conflict of the story, it makes the whole plot pretty weak. So then she goes to the store, buys Christianity for Dummies and Bible for Dummies, I think, and gets ready to try way harder than she needs to find a guy. We don't see this on camera for some reason, but she matches with a guy, apparently, and meets him for coffee. And then it's the most awkward and boring thing ever. He has no personality, and his name is Paul. Then, the next day at work, Pam fusses at her when Gwen tells her about the whole story, and rightfully so. So Paul and Gwyneth go out on another date, and they eat sushi offensively. Then we see her buying a Bible, and we see a montage of her learning about the Bible and taking notes and stuff. Okay, so pause for a second. Having seen the rest of this movie, I know that the angle that they were going for is that Gwyneth, while learning how to pretend to be a Christian, she actually starts to read the truth of scripture and actually starts to think like, oh, like this is a good thing, like maybe I want this to be a part of my life. But they do not do a good job of showing that, and it's really frustrating. And then she goes to the most boring Bible study I've ever seen, and we meet our villain, Kel, which is really weird. If I weren't a Christian, this movie would not make me want to be a Christian or even be friends with one, because she is not the only villain-esque Christian character that we have in this story. The mom is also kind of slated to be a villain, but they're also both supposed to be like mature Christians in the story, so it doesn't really make sense that they would villainize them. Like, Christians aren't perfect people, obviously, but this movie is supposed to show Lacey Chabert's character wanting to become a Christian based on not only the Lord tugging on her heart, but the influence of the people who she is hanging out with. Oh, and then, oh my gosh, yes, Corbin Bernsen is in this movie. He also wrote the screenplay and directed it. What are you doing, Henry Spencer? What are you doing? Go back to psych.
What are you doing here?
Maybe we're both psychics.
I am serious.
And then Gwyneth stares an uncomfortable amount of time at what I'm assuming is Henry Spencer's impressive chest hair. I don't know. Paul and Gwen go out on another date, maybe date 3 or 4 that we've seen. Then at Gwyneth's doorstep, they kiss for the first time. Ooh. And then sometime later, Gwyneth joins them at church for the first time and meets Paul's parents, which the mom is Chandler's mom from Friends. What? I just remember Chandler being emotionally scarred from his relationship with his mother. There's redemption for anyone and everyone, I guess. Then they go to a restaurant called Steak and Cake. What an amazing combination. And then they drop the bomb on Gwen that they're going on a mission trip to Mexico, and Gwen is sad and upset because they'll be gone for a while, and Paul didn't tell her for some reason. And then we cut to Gwen being upset in her office and acting like they broke up. But then Gwen gets called into an emergency meeting and she is not prepared and does a really bad job but doesn't get fired for some reason. She then decides to take vacation and go on the trip to Mexico, and still she doesn't get fired. Don't understand that. Through some shenanigans that ensue, the mom finds out that Gwen has been lying about being a Christian. Paul and Gwyneth fight and they break up, and then Gwyneth goes home. So then sometime after, Gwyneth finds a church that's much more her style, and without Paul in her life, she starts to find out what her faith could mean for her own life outside of the purpose of impressing a man. So she starts attending this church, studying her Bible more, and then, long story short, she becomes a Christian. Woohoo! So she tells Pam all of this, and plot twist, Pam is a Christian too, but never told Gwen for some reason. I don't understand that. Tell me what you think. Is there ever in an American workplace a case where you would keep your faith a secret? Like, I understand there's a time and place for not shoving your faith down people's throats, but people not knowing at all that you're a Christian, is that something where there would be an appropriate time and place for that? Or is that not being responsible to your witness? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. So then sometime later, Gwyneth decides to show up at Paul's church so that she can apologize to him and tell him that she's become a Christian, but then finds out that he and Kelly are now dating. So she's kind of put off and sad about this and a little bit confused, and they meet up for coffee later, and she tells him that this is a bad idea, and he gets really mad and defensive and storms off and kind of says some mean things about her. But then Gwyneth gets a letter from one of those girls from Mexico that she met and decides to go teach English there. Oh, because remember way back when she told us that she wanted to be a teacher? Yeah, me neither. So then we flash forward to next Christmas and Gwen is teaching at the school. Then in a poorly executed attempt at a rom-com stereotype, Paul shows up randomly with his shirt untucked, and then Gwen is all like, "Paul, is that you?" And then they make up and they kiss, and then we have an unimportant post-credits scene that takes place like a week later, and then the movie is over. So that is the movie. So next I am going to point out what I think are some of the worst parts and some of the best parts. Okay, so let's talk about the best parts first. So Pam is easily my favorite part of this movie. She has some really great one-liners.
Thank you, Oprah.
Don't call me Oprah.
Her acting is pretty good. She's the one who is the voice of wisdom. I always like those characters. Those always tend to be my favorite characters in movies because they have a lot of room to not only speak a lot of wisdom, but also to be really funny.
It's called a sense of humor. You should get one. They're nice.
One of my favorite things about movies is being able to quote them afterwards. And so it's those kinds of characters who usually deliver the most quotable lines. One of my favorite best friend characters from all the movies I've seen is Ducky from Pretty in Pink. He's the original, more interesting best friend to the main character. I don't know if I have anything else good to say about this movie.
Do I offend?
Okay, so let's move on to the bad parts. The things that kind of took me out of the film a lot were the music, the cinematography, and the audio. It's all crap. The lyrical music was okay, like the soundtrack stuff, but the score stuff, like, it just sounds like a really bad ringtone. I'm not here to crack down on this movie for being cheap, but we have seen tons and tons of amazing film that have come out of a really, really low budget. Okay, so listen. I keep on running into all of these little hang-ups and difficulties It's okay, it's fine. Here we are, different shirt, different day, recording the rest of this video. But back to the audio, we were talking about they're not the worst crimes ever. Like, it's a low budget movie. That's just kind of how it's gonna go. But the story was so boring. And all the story beats seemed half-baked, you know? Like, they weren't fully fleshed out in a way that makes the story land. This movie is just boring as a bag of rocks. That's just the worst part of it.
I don't think my father, the inventor of toaster strudel, would be too pleased to hear about this.
So that's 7.5 hours of my life that I can't get back, but that's okay. So what is, in your opinion, one of the worst Christian movies you have ever seen? I would love to know down in the comments below, because very, very soon I'm going to do another one of these. Someone recommended that I do The Shack next. So let me know down in the comments below if you would like to see me review that movie. So next time I do a CCC video, Cringy Christian Cinema video, I will be putting up a poll on my Instagram. My Instagram for this channel is down in the description. If you like this video, give it a like and tell me why you liked it. If you didn't like it, dislike it and tell me why. I can always learn, I can always grow. And always remember that you are loved by the one true God because He has called you by name and you are His. I still feel awkward saying this, but subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. I really look forward to hearing from y'all in the comments below. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye! Also, if you want to feel really old, the movie Mean Girls came out 16 years ago. What? Okay, bye for real.
That is so fetch. Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.